On the last Scoop Loop, we discussed things in Lethbridge, Alberta, at the feed yards up there, and then previous to that, we talked about the Squaw Valley Ranch and the big kind of Nevada Buckaroo style outfit where they have lots of cows and lots of room. Lethbridge is a real intensive corporate, not corporate, but a farming situation where they are growing feed, and they're actually marketing their feed through the livestock. And then they had a big drought there last year in Lethbridge, or the Alberta area, so they started bringing a lot of corn from the south areas where there was a lot of moisture. And that's one advantage of feeding animals in a bunk. You prepare the feed from your fields, and then manure, urine, it all is cleaned and gone back. And with the concrete style of feed pens that they have now, it's pure manure. There's no clay soil going back in, so it's really it's a rejuvenation or a regenerative style of agriculture, but it just requires a lot of machines. So from there, Alberta, I went and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Squaw Valley. I learned and I shared, and then I got on a plane and I flew to Cincinnati, Ohio, and went to the Green Acres Ranch or farm. And it's a foundation that has money behind it, and they're doing quite a bit of research type things, but it's regenerative agriculture. And so they're trying to use as few machines as they possibly can. The real machine there is electric fence, and they use power fence to segregate the cattle into small lots or small paddocks, and they graze large numbers of pounds per acre with their cattle. They concentrate them, so the urine and the manure all is in one spot, and then the big thing there is rest of the pasture. And so they graze there, they take them off, they might not come back for 30, 60, whatever amount of days that it takes for the root system to fully recover and regrow so they can rebite it and create this ecosystem under the soil and above the soil that creates a beautiful pasture situation that creates protein the same way they did in the feed yards. It's just a lot less machinery involved, and it's a different style of management that has to be, because you don't have the bunks. You have to monitor your feed. You got to make sure that your cattle are getting enough of the right kinds of feed. And the big challenge that I see with these situations on grass is the contentment of the cattle. And one of the big things that happens when you're moving pastures quite a bit is the cattle, they're always looking for the next pasture. They're anticipating the move to the next pasture. Just like in a feed yard, they're anticipating the feed truck coming back at whatever time of day they feed. So it's the same situation. You have to read your cattle, and what I really try to do with my regenerative grazing style is never get the cattle begging for feed, but always move them to new feed without them knowing they're going to new feed. So that's a whole skill, and we talked a lot about that. Most people just take the fence down and let them wander on to the next paddock, and then if you're going to move them every 3 days, and you should go 1 to 3 days. If you graze a paddock more than 3 days on these small, tight paddocks, then you're starting creating problems by regrazing something that has already been bitten, and then the root system suffers. So what I try to do is take the cattle off, move them somewhere, give them some exercise, look at your cattle, and then move them back onto a fresh paddock, so they don't get to begging to always have the fence drop down. It's a whole different mindset, and that's what we talked a lot about at the Green Acres. The reason for going there was a demonstration of the Temple Grandin system that they had there. They have a wonderful silencer chute inside a building. They have a great Temple Grandin design facility that's it's a lot more facility than they need for the amount of cattle they have, but they're building and growing, and who knows where they'll end up. The guys that were there and the gals, they were all great, and they're so into what they're doing, and they're really trying to make a difference and put it out there, make their mistakes where they don't have to worry about money so much. I mean, we're always worried about money and profit, but they can make some mistakes and then let people see those mistakes and then learn from those mistakes. But they do everything there. They have some hogs that they're grazing. They have a pasture poultry deal. They raise turkeys. I'm sure they're going to go to sheep and goats at some point, or maybe they already do. I didn't see them. And then the guys are all so into it and so excited about trying to take this into the future. It's the oldest style of grazing, or the oldest style of production agriculture we have, animals grazing, and we eat the meat from those, and it's been around for a long time. We're just getting better and better at it. So Mother Nature used to create it, now we have to recreate nature. We have become the predator or the wolf by keeping these animals packed together with our power fence. And then, of course, the manure and urine, when we had the wolf packs holding the buffalo together, they would keep in a pack, and then the soil or the grass would get soiled, or manure and urine on it, so the pack would just move to the next spot. And that's where you got the regenerative agriculture with Mother Nature in control. We have to replicate that with our power fence and our mind and our stockmanship, and that's what we were trying to do there at Green Acres. It was a lot of fun, and enthusiastic young people, and really trying to make a difference. The demonstration was real good. Actually, a lot of people came that were a lot of 4-H people that were coming to learn more about handling livestock, and they had a bunch of young people, and quite a few people from the Ohio area came, and just to see the place and to learn about cattle handling. So it was a great trip, and another example of the different style of stockmen that we have. And these guys weren't cowboys. You know, the Squaw Valley crew were all cowboy. Some of the folks in Alberta were cowboys, some of them weren't. But these folks, one of them was from Ireland, had a big background in dairy and grazing dairy animals. And then there was a bunch of new people that were just learning about this, and they were all in and all for it. And I think it's a great program that's going to teach us a lot. There's a lot of these around. Noble Foundation is someone I work with quite a bit at Admire, and they're in Oklahoma, Ardmore, and then Green Acres, and then, you know, there's lots of magazines and lots of things on the internet about regenerative grazing. The problem is it's a high skill, and it's very difficult to do it right, and you can make mistakes, and anytime there's drought or extra hot weather, it makes it very, very difficult. So the next stop after Green Acres I went back to the tribe, and we'll talk about that in the next video and some of the challenges they're having because of their regenerative agriculture style that they're trying to use, but Mother Nature kind of got in the way. So that's how we are in this journey of our month-long stockmanship.